This is how you make dinosaurs?
No. This is how you play God.
So why does Jurassic Park need to be scary again? Well, when you break everything down on a very basic level, Jurassic Park is a cautionary tale. And in order for a cautionary tale to actually be cautionary, the movie and story in general have to actually push forward ideas and warnings that serve as you really shouldn't do this. And one of the things that I think has been an issue for Jurassic Park over the last few years has been they've really dialed everything down and tried to make the dinosaurs themselves a little more cuddly, a little less intense. You do have scenes that will go a little bit in a frightening direction, but all in all, the emphasis is more on dinosaurs and how cool dinosaurs are and why we should protect dinosaurs. And I honestly believe this is missing the point of Jurassic Park entirely, because at that point, we're no longer really having the conversation about why you should or should not clone one of these things. And we've moved more towards a very strange celebration of the fact that we did clone dinosaurs. And we are celebrating the technology that has ruined people's lives in the past for these films. Characters who have been killed by dinosaurs, family members that have survived attacks, or even some of the lessons that were learned by characters like John Hammond or Roland Tembo seem to really be on the back burner of, hey, dinosaurs, cool, another Jurassic Park. And I personally find that to be a big issue. The heart of Jurassic Park's story really is a warning against the blind ambition or selfish ambition, hubris of modern man and their scientific intrigue, and how science can, in some instances, even be very devastating to people around them, and almost this sort of just destructive force after you've opened Pandora's box and unleashed something you never should have been messing with. The counter to this stuff is always the human element of a Jurassic Park story. You do start off with characters that can be selfish or self-serving in some regard, but their arcs are typically revolving around the fact that they care more about human lives than they do about their own personal goals or ambitions. This is one of the big parts of the first Jurassic Park for John Hammond and Alan Grant. The dinosaurs in Jurassic Park really do have to be scary, especially the carnivores. And when they're not treated as being threatening or scary, you move towards this sort of area of, well, what's the point? It's not just supposed to be dinosaurs equal cool. It's actually supposed to say something. And you could go back and say it's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You know, human beings are diving into something they really should not be doing just to put their name onto something. But I would actually go back even further and say that in a lot of instances, the idea of John Hammond's just blind ambition and human hubris to go full forcibly after the idea of putting his name on a dinosaur theme park and creating the technology that would clone the animals and having them actually break out and kill a bunch of people. And then it takes him a long time to get to that level of repentance to where he's like, my kids are going to die. I can't do this anymore. This whole archetype of a story can be found in ancient traditions that human beings have told each other for literally thousands of years. You have something like Prometheus, which I'm sure you know the story of Prometheus coming down and giving fire to the mere mortals that existed in the land at the time. But you could even go to something like Genesis and talk about chapter 6, where the sons of God come into the daughters of man. You could also talk about Enoch, which is a very big explanation and expansion on that whole framework and idea. And this is something that I think Jurassic Park kind of needs, because without it, you do make everything less Jurassic Park. One of the things that I don't think people truly understand about what made the dinosaurs scary, particularly in Michael Crichton's novel, was the early scenes where the animals are off the island doing serious harm to people. Early on, they're even called by the locals Los Ahupia. You know, they're basically called these night demons. These things that have kind of been sent to terrorize people for some reason because they've been meddling in something they really ought not to have. And as a chaotic force, then this goes back into an entire different conversation we could have about a biblical or moral approach to order and chaos. You know, this idea of a chaotic world pre-human beings, a world of just might is right, true violence, and true primal rage is at the heart of Jurassic Park and humans have no idea what they're messing with. So when you get scenes like the Velociraptors tearing Henry Wu to bits, or even in the first movie where they go after Muldoon, and you could even have other scenes like in the Lost World Jurassic Park where Peter Ludlow dies, and really just all kinds of scenes like that. Jurassic Park is a warning to stay away from this stuff. You're not supposed to celebrate the idea that we clone dinosaurs. This is a big, serious issue. It's one of the reasons why at the end of the Lost World novel by Michael Klayton, when Sarah Harding kind of kicks Dodson's leg out from underneath the car and the T-Rex picks him up and takes him back to the baby's nest, Malcolm has a quote like, see, there is a God. Jurassic Park at its core is very much, no, don't do that. We have really lost that in some of the modern movies, and I think it's a shame because while you can see, if I'm being honest, some shades of it here and there, it's just not the same as it used to be because the story is no longer about human beings needing to like learn a lesson. It's more about dinosaurs equal cool. And there's something to be said about the human level of that selfishness and how it can kind of change over time. Alan Grant's character arc in Jurassic Park 1, the movie, is something that I think everybody likes. It's one of the reasons I'm not the biggest fan of Jurassic Park 3, splitting Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler up. He has a really good arc where at first he's selfish, he doesn't want children, he wants to just be a paleontologist and do his own thing, despite the fact that his girlfriend is clearly interested in having a family. And when you actually see Grant put to the test, he does value the lives of people lesser than his own. And it kind of acts as a sort of buffer to how he's been behaving earlier in the film. Someone like Donald Gennaro running out of the car, scared out of his mind of the T-Rex, and Alan Grant running towards the T-Rex to save the children. There's a great scene where Lex is crying, saying like, he left us. And Grant's just like,
But that's not what I'm gonna do.
And there's scenes like that really do add to this very important human element of Jurassic Park when coupled with the cautionary warning about science being blown very far in advance, which we can even see today with things like artificial intelligence. We can see a lot of the proliferation of science has immediately gone to aspects of war and warfare. The movie Oppenheimer last year was a very big component of showing just how immediately vicious humankind can be as a species, which again, we go all the way back to some of the ideas put forth in the book of Genesis. Jurassic Park at its core really is supposed to be scary. And I think when you rob it of that element, you really turn it into something it was never supposed to be.
Mommy's very angry.
I think there's also the idea of that pathway to redemption that's always available in a Jurassic Park story, and this is usually what makes for the most memorable character scenes. In the first film, when John Hammond says,
"Creation is an act of sheer will. Next time it'll be flawless."
There is this element of just insanity. This Dr. Frankenstein level hubris that is so nuts to watch people get ripped to bits and killed around him. And he's just thinking, even after this scene, oh, when they opened Disneyland in 1956, nothing worked.
But John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
There's an element of Jurassic Park. It is actually a little meta, a little tongue-in-cheek, like, how do you not see how much bad you're causing? And I think that without the dinosaurs being treated like that force, you don't really get a true Jurassic Park experience. It is very true that you have scenes of Jurassic Park like the Brachiosaurus introduction or the sick Triceratops that are beautiful. And anytime I ever go into a museum, anytime I watch Jurassic Park or The Lost World or anything like that, you immediately get the sense of, oh my gosh, these were living, breathing animals that existed on the planet for millions of years before mankind ever stepped foot here. They walked, they lived, they ate, they breathed, they were so massive and so fascinating. So anytime you have a scene like that, they should be treated as such. However, the carnivores in Jurassic Park historically were always treated with a more dangerous kind of a feel, and we have moved pretty far away from that. While it is true you get the Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor, which are more dangerous, I really think that a lot of the animals in the newer films are kind of viewed way too sympathetically, and it neuters them. It it really does defang the creatures, because what you're basically doing is you're providing another story in the Jurassic Park universe, not a cautionary tale. You're making the carnivores out to be just like the herbivores. It really does make everything kind of watered down, and it's missing the point. You know, in the first Jurassic Park, there's this certain sort of alien feel when you get to the Velociraptors. Like, they're smart. They're almost too smart. They outsmart humans. They're grinning. They've got like this gnarly kind of a threatening feel about them. And whenever a human being kind of is around them, there's this element of, okay, we really messed up. Like, we should never have done this in the first place, because these things we simply cannot control, and you cannot put it back in the box, as Eli Mills would state. I really think that when you move away from the danger of a T-Rex or the impending doom of a pack of velociraptors, or even being in a territory of these sort of animals, when you get rid of that chaotic neutral appeal and you just say, hey, dinosaurs, we got to protect them because we're human beings and, you know, we're great, and you're really missing the point. You know, the dinosaurs are supposed to push the people into learning a lesson. Jurassic Park has to be scary for that specific reason. It's to help human beings become better parents. It's to help people that actually did this stuff in the first place to stop. And even in an instance like Roland Timbo, one of the most underrated Jurassic Park arcs, I think, in my opinion, he's just going out of his way to kill a T-Rex for the simple fact that he's the guy that's going to be able to do it. You know, he is the one true force of nature on the island to just put his name in big red lights, like in the universe, I did it, I killed a T-Rex. And then when Ajay dies, he realizes he would much rather have had his friend than this accomplishment. It's truly a shame that this stuff has kind of been lost on us over the years. One of the biggest problems in modern Hollywood really is people don't know where their stories came from. If you treat movies or TV shows or books or anything like that as just another piece of content, and trust me, that's how a lot of these people actually make a lot of these newer sequels and reboots and material. Unfortunately, if you treat it like that, you really do miss the point of how far the human race kind of has pushed themselves with these stories and how much these stories have meant to people over the years. When I watch a movie like Aliens, it's not just because I like science fiction or because I think it's got great special effects by Stan Winston. One of the big reasons that movie is one of my favorite movies ever made is actually the human element of Ellen Ripley being lost in space for 57 years, wakes up, just wants to get to her daughter's 11th birthday party. And when she finds out that Amanda has died, it kills her on the inside.
Her 11th birthday.
And Aliens quickly turns into more than just a horror action movie when she meets Newt, who's the little girl that her mother, her father, and her brother are all dead. They've all been killed by the aliens on this planet that the company sent a whole bunch of colonizers to live. And Aliens at its core is similar to Jurassic Park in the way that it is a story of, instead of a man learning to become a father, it's a woman learning to protect a daughter.
Oh, God.
This stuff is important for movies. Like, it really does make me upset to see a lot of the modern franchises get just treated like the next thing instead of a human story. Probably the best way to do this would be to get a writer like David Koepp back in the saddle. Gareth Edwards is a great director. I do have a good feeling about Jurassic World Rebirth, but I mean, it could go either way. We know how this stuff happens. I do want to say that Jurassic Park was always supposed to be a cautionary tale and a warning against these scientific advancements just for the sake of doing something. You know, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And we see a lot of that in the modern world with different advancements of not only science, but also a lot of political zealotry. And there's other elements that just feel so dehumanizing and also so unauthentic that it makes sense as to how Jurassic Park kind of fell into the same sort of kind of just ridiculousness. You know, when Nedry shuts off the power and takes the embryos and everything kind of gets gnarly in the middle part of the movie, there's really something to be said there about the whole point of the story and how human beings thinking that they are in control of a situation quickly learn they're not God. And I really am disappointed to see that that whole aspect of Jurassic Park's meta narrative has been jettisoned in favor of things that are quite frankly silly. I think it takes on a different element too, the fact that I've become much more religious over the last year and a half, because many of you will know I say Christ is King at the end of my videos now. And the reason I do that is because I believe it. You know, I really have, I understand completely why the world has so many problems right now. And I know it's easy to push those on to the religious or the Christian random person you might find on the internet, but holistically, we have moved very far away from loving thy neighbor as you love thyself. When Jurassic Park stopped being scary, it stopped being a real warning against a lot of these ideas. On the surface, yes, they do revolve around biotech and scientific advancements and a warning against those specific things. But on a more grand level, Jurassic Park is really trying to say people are really more important than putting your own name on something. We do get shades of that here and there with some of the Jurassic World material, but unfortunately, because the dinosaurs themselves are not scary, you do not have that hoopia force. You do not have that left hand of God, that chaotic nature to actually terrorize the people into a level of repentance so more people can survive and not die. And that's something that has just completely blown over people's heads. There is an element, I'm sure, of people that just like scary movies and like dinosaur attack scenes. They probably love Anaconda, Deep Blue Sea, Lake Placid. You will love my Dragon Curve YouTube channel. But on a more meta level, Jurassic Park should be scary because Jurassic Park is a scary idea.
My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
Now, before I go, I want to thank everyone that's helped me build my channel over the years. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys who've watched my stuff. You've all been extremely cool to me. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and hope that you'll consider subscribing. God bless you all. Christ is King. See you guys in the next video. And as always, take it easy.